I think the king right now, his best bet would be to distance himself completely, make it clear to Harry that the Sussexes are not welcome at all in Britain for a very, very long time.
Hi, all. Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, and I am here with one of my very favorite guests, Tom Bower, the author of Betrayal, the author of Revenge. And let me just say, this is a huge day to have you because Harry's verdict has come in the Daily Mail case, but also Farage, you're writing a book on Farage. I mean, I got you right when your head is spinning. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today. You said off camera, and I hope it's okay that I'm repeating this, Prince Harry is done. Can you expand on that?
He's tarnished by losing a case which has cost them at least £50 million in costs. For Harry now, it's downhill faster than he can imagine.
If we were a fly on the wall wherever he is, because he's certainly not staying in Kensington Palace, whatever Soho house he's probably in right now, is he pulling his hair out of what's left of it? Is he stressed? Is he angry? How is he going to respond to this? Did Harry really think he had a chance to win this? And as an observer, did you think, man, he might pull this off ever?
Well, I'm sure he thought he was going to win because the lawyers around him kept on encouraging him. And you've got to look at the role of the lawyers in all this. They've been on a gravy train earning tens of millions of pounds because of the action against the Murdoch Empire and then against the Mirror Group. They won a lot of money. But this time, they thought they had it all sewn up because they had a concocted fraudulent statement, and they didn't realize it was so phony. Until, of course, one wonders how they got it in the first place. But anyway, Harry was ensnared at Elton John's house in the south of France years ago to trust this group of lawyers and activists. And they were, in the end, the gravy train has come to an end. And Harry was used by them. And I don't think he realized until today the trouble he's in, because this isn't just a defeat in a civil case. This is Harry being exposed as not telling the truth under oath in the King's court. This is serious stuff. And of course, in public, he has been trained always to smile. We know from his book that the smiles are often faked, so he's faking it now. Meghan, stuck probably in Portugal, is wondering what's her fate as well. And I think the two of them now are in a desperate position because where can they go? They're not going to be welcome in Britain anymore. The king is not going to want to be at all in the same room with a man, his son, who has been labelled a liar today in the courts.
It's truly humiliating, is it not? It's humiliating.
Well, it's more than humiliating. I mean, in the end, Meghan and Harry went to America to get their privacy, but to monetize...
LOL. The privacy.
to monetize their fame and all the rest of it. And they did very well at the beginning. Now it's ground to a halt, and they hope by coming to Britain this week with the Invictus Games in Birmingham, they could have a royal tour surrounded by police escorts, the whole thing, to restore their credibility. The opposite has happened. It's become, for them, an absolute nightmare. And I think it's really Meghan. He's under, I said in my book, Betrayal, that he was brainwashed by Meghan. And of course, he continues to be brainwashed by her. And he is actually, I think, by now, at wit's end. He doesn't know what to do. He's been humiliated in London today. He's going to, for the rest of the week, try to restore some credibility, but in the end, he's going to fail. And Meghan was meant to come across and pose as the royal couple in Birmingham towards the end of the week, bringing the children, the whole thing. I think the king will be very, very wary of meeting Harry now. He'll say he hasn't got any space in his diary because Harry has shown himself be a man of absolutely not only no judgment, but a person who is surrounded by very poor advisors.
Yesterday or the day before, because this has been a chaotic few days, someone has said, do you think Meghan will... We expected Harry to attend or to come out here solo, but the rumor was from Harry's team, Meghan might still meet him for the Invictus event on Friday. The kids would, might still come around the end of the week so that they could go to Althorpe to see the grave of Diana, because these two love nothing more than wearing the skin of this poor woman. But I said I did not think Meghan would attend. with him on Friday if he lost this case because she doesn't want to be on the arm of a loser. Is that a fair assessment, or do you think, Meghan goes where the flashbulbs are, so she'll show up on Friday?
Well, I think that she would have normally been there because Invictus has always been her showcase event. Invictus was Meghan, whether
Her
it was in
fashion
Vancouver
show.
or Düsseldorf or The Hague. That is where Meghan was able to star and revive her great image of the smiling Duchess. Now, I think people will say, what on earth is this woman doing here? On the arm of a man, as I say, exposed as a liar and having lost all that money. And he's got financial problems now. He's not covered by the insurance for such a huge amount. So don't, he is now going to be pursued by the Mail for their money. And that is a problem for him. But also, Meghan had always stood back from these cases. Meghan very shrewdly realized taking on the media was not clever. She urged Harry not to become involved in these cases, but he won two, so he threw his dice in with the third.
Do you think she realized she got lucky with her case regarding the letter to her father?
Of course she did.
And when she realized this was a stroke of luck, she said, "I'm all right. I want to dip out now, so I look like a winner."
Absolutely, because what happened in her case was that the judges, and there were four in the end, didn't want to in any way impugn the royal family. You remember they said she'd had a lapse of memory, unfortunate lapse of memory, when she effectively lied that she'd forgotten about briefing.
Something she has in common with her husband, Tom Bauer.
Exactly. But now, she realized it was luck because the judge in this case, a man called Matthew Nicklin, was the same judge who dismissed Harry's case against the Mail on Sunday about the negotiations at Sandringham about protection, and said that Harry had lied in his statement in that case. So he had form of not being, so to speak, enthralled to the royal family. Now, Harry has lost now two cases in front of Nicklin. He's not going to risk a third. And Meghan, I think, was shrewd enough to realize that. I mean, you've got to be as thick as Harry not to realize that there comes a point where you can't push your luck too far.
Do you remember that obnoxious quote from him about slaying dragons?
Yeah.
What must he be thinking today?
Well,
and what was the motivation behind releasing that in the first place? He looked so immature in that moment.
His misfortune is, and was, that you've got to always realize that lawyers have one vested interest, and that's earning money. And he was a money machine until today, when they've all lost money, and they lost a lot of money, his lawyers. And I think that is the point, that he's lost his advisors. He's lost what we used to call the grey wise men, who weren't always wise, but they were always grey.
Yeah.
But at least they gave some advice, you can consider it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that anymore because he can't even afford it.
There's been a debate about whether his actions still negatively affect the British royal family, and you wrote a beautiful piece where you say his actions do still reflect poorly and embarrass the British royal family. Can you expand on that? Because, he said it himself, like he might not be a working member of the royal family anymore, but they are still his family members. How do moments like this affect the king?
Well, I think hugely. I think the king and the monarchy has been hugely damaged by this case and by Harry's conduct. I think the judge who gave him a very sharp punch on the nose, followed by the king giving him a slap in the face by not having him at Buckingham Palace, because he realizes that Harry actually, throughout the last 5 years, whether it's an accusation of racism or all the stuff in his autobiography about the royal family and his father and his brother and Kate and Camilla and all that, of course it's been hugely damaging. And the popularity of the royal family has fallen because of Meghan and Harry's antics. So I think the king right now, his best bet would be to distance himself completely, make it clear to Harry that the Sussexes are not welcome at all in Britain for a very, very long time. And Harry just will have to reflect how he's going to reorganize the next few tens of years of his life. And of course, down the road is William. And we've got to remember, in the weeks leading up to this visit, all the briefing that the Sussexes did.
Unreal.
And he reconciled with William, where with the children, his children come vis-a-vis their grandfather, and all that. And that was all fueled from Montecito. Well, that has all now gone sour. That's all now gone really bad for the Sussexes. So they have
And what was the objective in them doing that?
well, to get to resurrection, be the royal family, somehow find a way in which they could monetize themselves through being accepted again in Britain. But of course, they're not apologizing. They have no contrition for the terrible things they've done over the last 5 years. So I never understood exactly how they thought it would play out, except that Harry was blackmailing his father.
Yes.
Do you want to see your grandchildren or not? And the king, not being in his best of health and all the rest of that, and being a man who on the whole probably wants to see his grandchildren, wavered. I think that now, that ship has passed. I think that the Sussexes' dream of somehow finding a role here, half in, half out, so that they can somehow rebuild some sort of identity in California and sell the jam jars and all the rest of it, I think that has now passed.
Hey everyone, Kinsey Schofield here, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's a total game changer, Peak's Liver Detox Protocol. You may not know it, but your liver handles a lot: energy, hormones, digestion, and even your mood. But with all the stress and toxins from everyday life, it needs some love. Forget harsh cleanses. Peak delivers gentle daily support inspired by traditional Chinese medicine. Their routine uses 2 simple blends. The first is a warming turmeric mix with cinnamon and black pepper, designed to help the body absorb it better and support the liver while calming inflammation. The second is a ginger and cinnamon blend that helps with blood flow, digestion, bloating, and immune support. The magic is how they work together to activate and flush for better digestion, stable energy, less brain fog, and that light, clear feeling. My energy is consistent, my skin is clear, and less bloating. That's Peak, where spirit meets science. Redefine your standard of health, secure 20% off your order, and begin your intentional wellness journey today at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Thanks so much. You astutely pointed out in your article that, there's a bit of, there's an irony here that Harry is spending millions of dollars taking the Daily Mail to court and their owners for an invasion of privacy, when the only commercial success Harry has is invading his family's privacy. Has that not dawned on him that if you go read the biography that they paste on whatever, speech Harry's giving at whatever Honda convention in Ohio now these days, because now he's a motivational speaker, I guess. They all say, that he wrote this sensational book that everybody loved, this best-selling book, and they talk about the Netflix series. Like, if his bullet points are these 2 projects that tore his family to shreds and, really disrupted their privacy, how does he have the audacity to go sit in a courtroom and try to take somebody to task for doing the same thing to him?
Well, of course, he alleges they did it illegally, and he said he did it to
I did it legally. I'm just an ass.
well, no, he did it. He said he did it legally and did it to set the record straight.
Well,
but of course, it was all revenge, and most of it was untrue.
yeah.
It was fabricated. I think, when you get to be a person like Harry, you don't really have much self-awareness. Let alone self-criticism, let alone allow yourself to be surrounded by people who say, well, are you absolutely sure that that's accurate? And they've been living in a bubble. They've been living in a self-fabricated bubble where they have effectively believed themselves to be the victims.
Yes.
Well, now they're not the victims, they're the perpetrators. They're the people who have victimized the Daily Mail and all the journalists who were honest. Yeah. And especially, for example, that journalist Charlotte Griffith, who he said...
CG string.
who he said was fabricating her evidence, and she produced the evidence to show that he was lying.
He was offering cuddles.
And and that's the problem with him. He is now shown to have created victims, not only amongst the Daily Mail journalists, but I thought in his book, for example, the way he lampooned a teacher who had a problem, the way he exposed the girl whose virginity he lost his virginity to,
Behind
which
a pub.
embarrassed her.
Yes.
Which embarrassed her.
Yes.
She'd kept it secret for 20 years.
Which was so good of her. And I would be screaming from the rooftops, you know?
Well, you don't know, perhaps it wouldn't be such a good experience. I mean, perhaps you would be ashamed too. But I mean, that's the problem with him.
Yeah.
He is always he's always the victim. And of course, that is the product of therapy. But he's always in the right. Well, now.
But go ahead. Finish.
Well, I think now he's on the other side of the fence. He is now the person who is the liar. He is now the person who is the perpetrator, and there are victims of his vendetta, of his feud, of slaying the dragons. He's self-slain. He's caused his own. It's a reputational suicide. Let's put it no milder than that.
Right.
And he has now got to find a way somehow to save himself. I think Meghan, she realizes how serious it is, because people aren't going to let it forget it. You know, she called my book the product of a deranged conspirator.
Okay.
Everything I wrote in Betrayal has proven to be true.
Yes.
Everything I wrote in Revenge has proven to be true.
Put me on the stand. I will say it.
and it's even worse than I could have imagined.
Yes.
And, the way they pursue people who might want to talk about them. This is now an open season. It's fascinating. I've always wondered what the end game of Harry and Meghan's life would be. And I think we're now edging towards the chapters of the decline, because the pristineness has now gone, and that's rather interesting.
Well, when you were talking about some of the therapy mumbo jumbo he goes into, I feel like, especially yesterday, I felt like I was watching a nervous breakdown in real time. I'm staying at Buckingham Palace, and a very rare reaction, never complain, never explain, except for yesterday, Buckingham Palace says absolutely no, he's not. And then they go into detail, absolute detail, saying he told us on Saturday he was not going to stay there. Then he called and said he changed his mind. And we had to explain to him, protocol dictates that this is impossible for us now. We were going to have to rope in more. We were going to have to rope in employees to handle you, chefs to cook for you. We'd need hospitality. We'd need food and beverage. And we just don't have the time to do that for you now. If you are Better Up, or whatever, it's Better Up, right? The company that pays him as, I guess, a glorified ambassador. Are you not sitting back thinking, is this the right guy? I mean, Invictus too. Are you not sitting there going, I don't know if this is the right person to represent us, because he brings destruction, chaos, and a circus wherever he goes.
Absolutely. And I think what you described about Buckingham Palace's detailed breakdown is actually a matter of a breakdown of trust. The point about Harry was, can we trust him? And because of all the briefing and the reversals and all the somersaults, what they're really saying is, we cannot deal with this man. We don't trust the fifth in line of succession. Well, if that doesn't cast him into the wilderness, he'll notice in a few days how it will. And of course, you've got to remember one thing, the timing of all these things is always very interesting. When he announced he'd be coming with Meghan the children, he didn't realize that the following day, Ravek, the security commander, was going to announce that he wasn't going to get police protection. And it was very interesting that that was followed within 24 hours by the king saying he's not going to stay in Buckingham Palace. And, the king knew. I mean, the palace knows what's happening in every part of our society. So they knew he was going to lose the case today. They knew that he was not going to get Ravek protection. They knew what he's playing at. And I think that is what you're seeing. They're distancing themselves. He was given the last chance and he blew it. And now he's got to find a way to save himself.
Is it fair that, as I've watched this unfold, I was worried that this would re-villainize King Charles, that Harry would be able to say, my dad's left me out in the cold. Here's my dad not protecting me with security again. I guess my dad doesn't want to see his grandchildren. because that is what I was concerned about. And I think I even said to you, could this all be a scheme, a setup to blackmail the king into showing up at Birmingham next year, which you've said yourself was the ultimate goal for Prince Harry, to have that royal presence and to give him that renewed credibility next year in Birmingham. I really was concerned that the king would look like the bad guy here, but I'm here in the UK, and really the sense is that Harry is, I think you called it, what did you say? He was like the conductor of something, like the conductor of his own demise. So you said something much more beautiful than that to me, but how is it that in a way he still is playing the victim, and the king could look like the bad guy, but Harry screws up so badly that we don't feel sorry for him in this scenario?
Well, we don't feel sorry for him, but also, ever since his illness was disclosed, what is true about the king is that people more and more regard him as a huge asset to Britain. He tries hard, he works hard, doesn't complain about his illness, was on a tank the other day, another day in a hospital, another day in the flower show. The Queen very bravely poses with J.K. Rowling to show that she's not going to be intimidated by the
Cancel culture, yeah.
the cancel culture. So I think gradually the king has become much, more respected than he might have been. And he is in fact highly respected now, as is the Queen. And they had to fight hard to get to that. So I think the sympathy at the moment is all in their favor. And they're not going to let all their hard work. And you've got to remember, and they're not going to cause an argument with William and Kate, who have absolutely no intention of in any way allowing the rehabilitation of the Sussexes here. So I think it's the royal family versus the Sussexes. And today, the royal family won. But in the end, of course, you can easily say nobody's won, because this battle in public is a catastrophe for the royal family. And that has been hugely damaging. And what they've said, and is all still on the record, has got terrible reverberations around the world. So the mystery of the royal family and the respect they commanded has been weakened by the Sussexes. The question is only, how do they rebuild William and Kate and the King and Queen, rebuild trust and respect? And the quicker the Sussexes leave Britain, the better. The question is only whether they go quietly and stay quiet, or whether they scream to earn a bit more money at the royal family's expense. That is the untold answer.
Well, that was my next question to you, because Meghan said in the cut, I didn't sign an NDA. She's talked openly about stumbling upon a diary she kept while she was very briefly a working member of the British royal family. She was proud that she stumbled upon that diary at Frogmore Cottage. And I felt like the Oprah interview was a reaction. I know that they always wanted to sit down with Oprah, that Meghan had wanted to sit down with Oprah and said to the BBC for their engagement interview. I know that this was like a dream for Meghan, but the way that she was so angry and out of control during that interview, I just felt like this is a negative response. They're mad about something that's recently happened. Do you suspect that we could see them lash out again? I mean, Harry did lash out after the Ravik's original ruling, the court ruling against him when it came to his government-funded security. If they're smart, they won't. But I don't know. We know we're not dealing with two smart people.
Well, I think, first of all, the diary. Do we really believe that she kept a diary? Or do you think
she loves her own handwriting, Tom Bauer? I've never seen a woman love her own
handwriting. Well, yes, but there's a big difference between that and someone sitting down every day to write a diary.
Dear diary, Catherine wouldn't look me in the eye.
Exactly. I think there is, that is questionable. But I think she's probably got an inventive memory, so she doesn't need a diary.
Yeah.
I think that as far as the threats go, they're real. They're real. And that is the problem.
Is it a problem? I think that, to your point, they've proven themselves to be liars. Will we take anything they say going forward?
Well, no newspaper is going to ignore them.
That's true.
That's the problem. The media is never going to ignore. I mean, after all, she posts every week 2 or 3 ridiculous photographs of herself and her children just to get attention. It's all ridiculous, and covering their faces and all the rubbish that she does.
Yeah.
And so, she is a publicity fiend.
Yeah.
She is so hungry for publicity and recognition. So
So will she leak the way that they've been leaking in the last few weeks about this specific trip?
I think that they will have a think whether it's going to financially
Benefit
profit
them?
them.
Yeah.
That's their problem. And I think much will happen in the way in which he is received for the rest of the week. I think that is his problem. Will the public still cheer and clap him as Great Harry with the children, or will they say he's tarnished, we're not that thrilled to be with him? I think we're going to have to see what the public reaction to today's news is.
So you do think, despite losing this case, that there's still a possibility that Meghan could show up at the end of the week to do her Invictus victory lap? You know, hey, it's me. Let me stand in front of the soldiers.
Well, I think that two things. I think that the British public is sick to death of the Sussexes.
Amen.
I think that's for certain. But on the other hand, they won't care about that. They'll force their way in if they see a way of profiting from it. So I think they're going to gauge over the next 48 hours what the reaction will be to Harry. The Mail tomorrow, or the Mail today, is going to be phenomenally aggressive. They've got the most amazing pages and pages and pages attacking Harry, attacking Meghan, and the lawyers. And that's going to set the tone. They're fortunate about the whole Nigel Farage sensation, distracting attention. But I think that come tomorrow and the day after, the attention will focus on what will the Sussexes do. And in that case, they will wait and see. Whether they get it right or wrong, we'll only know on Thursday.
I mean, there are still people at the Mail that are pushing this Project Thaw theory, which we've discussed, we've really broken down in the past, and thank you for having the patience to do that with me. But, you know, I felt like this week was the perfect example of why that story is complete and utter BS, Project Thaw. I mean, for the palace to say, no, he's not staying here, and here is a template of everything that's transpired over the last 48 hours was very incriminating when it came to Harry. But somebody is leaking to the Daily Mail and some of these other characters that have pushed this narrative that as long as Harry and Meghan don't try to go to commercial in the UK and Harry just does charity events, he can look like a royal and they will allow him to be there. And I just don't think that there's any way in hell Prince William would allow that. I think Prince William wants him out of this country. I think Prince William doesn't want to hear his name and isn't going to pander to these two incredibly selfish individuals that have done nothing but hurt them very deeply over the last few years.
Or wine for money. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that is the question now will be, Prince William now has got even more ammunition to say to his father, enough's enough. Let us get rid of this family. Let us even strip them of their titles. They're doing us huge harm, just in the same way as Andrew did. And I think the king now will realize that there's a lose-lose. Any association with Harry has got to be losing. But they'll take the temperature, I think, on Wednesday, early Thursday, see what the public reaction is before they make a final decision whether they're going to let Harry go privately to see his father or not, or what. I mean, you know, the palace is hopefully in tune. Yeah. They're not going to make a mistake, but they're going to be cautious. And Harry now is at the mercy of the grey men who he hated so much, the bee, the wasp, and the rest of these people who he loathed. These are the grey men now who will decide his fate. And he's powerless to influence it, as is Meghan.
You go into really incredible detail about Harry's fallout with Senabale and betrayal. And as we watch this circus distract from his ultimate objective, allegedly, which is to promote the 1 year until the Invictus Games have been buried this week. They've been buried for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Do you see a similar path for Invictus that we saw with Senabale, which was Dr. Sophie Shandaka saying, they're toxic, they're a distraction, we're having a hard time fundraising, we're better off without them? Could Invictus make a similar decision?
Well, the thing about Invictus is it gets government money. The question is whether Boeing and the other corporate sponsors stay on board. My suspicion is that they will weigh it up, consider it very carefully. On the one hand, they want to support, rightly support wounded soldiers and servicemen and women. And on the other hand, do they want to be associated with Harry? The latter, obviously not. So I think everyone is now pausing to wait to see. The gunfire has gone off. What happens when the smoke disappears?
Yeah.
And that is what we're going to see in the next few days. What damage is permanently attached to Harry? Can he recover? Will Meghan somehow see that they've got to play it differently? What will the palace do?
Another rebrand?
Another rebrand, another brand of jam or whatever. It is fascinating to watch how a couple have blown it, have now, in their desperation, gone to self-destruct mode.
They had everything.
They had everything.
And they were superstars, and we loved them. We were enamored. I want to ask you one last question. Is Meghan the cause for all of this as you watch Prince Harry blow up in front of the world? Is Meghan to blame? Is she the instigator? Is she the bad influence?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Meghan is a source of evil. I've said it many years ago, and it didn't make me popular with some people, but she's bad because she only thinks of herself. She is only focused on self-promotion and self-aggrandizement, profits for her, doesn't care who gets damaged in the way, and has behaved disgracefully and has never made amends. And that is a problem, and has used Harry and abused the royal family. And I think that that is really where, in that whole phrase, she's brainwashed Harry, she's now going to get it back in spades.
Wow. Oh, Tom Bower. Oh, and if you want to get caught up on all of this, revenge, betrayal, amazing books. He's got the receipts. He can walk you through all of this, especially read the Senabale information and look at what's happening with Invictus. It'll give you goosebumps. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I greatly appreciate you. You're my favorite person in the world. And what a day to see you. This has been explosive. And I do appreciate you taking the time to spend with me and my audience.
Great to love being with you. Thanks very much.
All right, agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Kinsey Schofield.